Ever wonder how much time and effort went into preparing your ribeye? We asked a panel of chefs and culinary experts about the hidden secrets of the steakhouse trade, and their answers were incredibly revealing. When picking out a steakhouse for dinner, you're probably gravitating towards places with the biggest and juiciest cuts, as well as the most accurate levels of doneness. There's another important thing you should keep in mind though. Sourcing. Where your meat comes from is just as important as how it's served. Izzy Kirsch, a seasoned hospitality consultant, revealed almost 20 years ago, meat purveyors were independent and every city had its own great steak provider. Today, most of those companies have been bought out and are owned by Cisco, US Foods, etc. While meat from local suppliers may be most desirable, chefs will often work with those wholesale distributors. That said, even though this practice might ring true for chain steakhouses, there are also many places that do indeed source from independent vendors. Chefs at these establishments take pride in patronizing these businesses. For instance, Chef Paul Niederman of the Jupiter Grill in Florida says all the meat for his steakhouse is sourced from northern Georgia or Iowa, in order to ensure that only prime and certified Angus beef is used. Similarly, Chef Carlos Barros of Palermo, an Argentinian steakhouse in New York City, looks to decades-old local meat shops in the area for his cuts. After determining your steak source, the next step is to focus on its grade. The United States Department of Agriculture, or USDA, assigns grades to beef, with prime being the most coveted due to its abundant marbling. But even if a steak is labeled prime on the menu, it's important to do your research and determine which cut you're actually being served. Chef Niederman urges customers to inquire about their beef's grade, as some places may serve one that's lower than advertised. A prime cut could actually be choice, a lower grade with less marbling.
Your menu clearly states that you serve USDA prime beef. True?
Yes, Hugo, we do serve USDA prime beef.
Wrong!
Of course, if you're not overpaying for it, choice can also be a good option. According to Chef Brad Wise, owner of Trust Restaurant Group in San Diego and Rare Society Steakhouse, there's a narrative out there that prime is the only option, but it's really not in my eyes. Incorporating choice allows us to be a more approachable concept. Problems with labeling also exist outside of beef grades, as Chef Barros mentions. As he puts it, most common labeling such as product of USA could just mean it was finalized here, but doesn't provide much insight on where the animal was raised. Inquiring about your steak grades may seem like an extra step, but it can help familiarize you with the meat and flavor better, adding value to your overall steakhouse experience. As many people have learned the hard way, a night out at a high-end steak restaurant can leave you with a full stomach but a much lighter wallet.
They said market price. What market are you shopping at?
It's natural to wonder why steak is so expensive, but Chef Niederman says that one of the biggest misconceptions consumers have with steaks is that price equals quality. Paying top dollar doesn't guarantee a steak's quality, but rather the expertise of the entire kitchen staff tasked with preparing each order. A truly outstanding culinary team can make even lesser cuts shine. Still, if you're opting for a prime steak, expect a high price tag. Only 2 to 3% of cuts in a cow are prime grade, and that's only as long as they're young and well-fed. Scarcity and supply and demand are big determining factors in a steak's price tag, according to Chef Barros. As he told Mashed, lower supplies often translate to higher prices. For example, tenderloin or filet mignon are naturally rarer since the cut comes from an animal with less meat. Meanwhile, the demand for popular cuts like ribeye and New York strip, which have added flavor and tenderness, can also result in a price hike. A great cut of steak relies on many factors, but one that is commonly overlooked by amateur cooks trying to replicate steakhouse flavors is adequate seasoning. Experts agree that a quality cut of steak only needs salt and pepper to bring out its flavor, but the quantity of salt needed is often underestimated.
The steak is under-seasoned, and there doesn't seem to be a grain of salt on the table.
According to Chef Barros, even though some people may complain about the excessive sodium in a steak, this single seasoning is vital for steakhouses to make their cuts stand out. Chef Wise shared a common cooking process for his steaks, which are brushed with an oil herb wand, seasoned with a lot of salt and pepper, and finished with beef tallow and more sea salt before serving. For steaks with an excellent outer crust, dry rubs and marinades can help bring out even more flavor. Some unique steak marinades that can make your meat taste great without the steakhouse price tag include citrus, soy sauce, and even yogurt. Whether you're enjoying a big dinner with family or a quiet evening with an old friend or loved one, a steakhouse can serve as an ideal backdrop. However, timing your visit is crucial to get the most out of your experience, since the lunch and dinner rush make it difficult to secure a table and enjoy your time. Fortunately, even the most popular places have slow hours. All you need to do is schedule an early dinner. Benjamin Pralvukaj, founder and CEO of Benjamin Restaurant Group in Manhattan, which includes Benjamin Steakhouse, told Mashed, "Getting the best experience at a steakhouse is the same as other fine dining restaurants. We recommend coming in before 7 p.m, so you're in for the first seating and can stay as long as you'd like. Since the dinner rush typically lasts from 7 to 9 p.m, a good early dinner time is around 5:30 p.m. That leaves plenty of time to enjoy the restaurant's atmosphere as you wrap up your dinner." Chef Baroz revealed another benefit, saying, "A lot of restaurants offer early deals or happy hour specials. Those hours typically fall between 4 to 6 p.m. for a steakhouse." There's a notable difference in the food, service, flavors, and overall experience of a neighborhood steakhouse and a chain like Longhorn or Ruth's Chris, although one is not necessarily better than the other. Chef Baroz and Niederman both say that independent establishments have a lot more at stake, pun intended. That's largely because they have a harder time bringing new talent in during staff shortages, unlike chains that can call on trained staff whenever needed.
What kind of steak joint is this?
Look, dude, 2 days ago I was working at a shoe store.
Moreover, large steakhouse chains have more buying power as they can purchase in bulk, which brings down overall costs significantly. After all, as Chef Baroz puts it, large steakhouses are more standardized, which means they have their recipes, techniques, and pricing across all their locations. This allows these restaurants to keep their flavors as consistent as possible, so know what they're getting no matter where they are. However, independently run steak restaurants have some advantages too. Kirsch's hospitality service has worked with several of these smaller steak operations, and he finds them to be quicker to alter menus to adapt to changing tastes and trends. According to him, most chains have to go through a long process to make any substantive changes to the menu. It's no secret that the factory processing of meat has detrimental effects on the environment, leaving a large carbon footprint and using an immense amount of resources. Being at the forefront of meat preparation and consumption, steak restaurants have to be especially careful in their sourcing and move towards sustainability. After all, it's not like steak falls from the sky, it has to come from somewhere. Chef Wise says that having the right partners makes all the difference. His restaurant sources from Snake River Farms in Idaho, which has a sustainable harvesting model in place. In the kitchen, his team cross-utilizes products to lower waste. As he told Mashed, "We use all our trimmings to make our signature burger, Philly cheese steak, and harissa marinated beef skewers." Chef Niederman and Baroz's approach involves sourcing locally, avoiding the carbon footprint of transportation as well as supporting local suppliers. A 2022 study in Nature Food found that 19% of global food systems emissions come from transport. So to mitigate environmental impact, the authors suggested eating locally produced and plant-based meals. Another necessary step is avoiding products facing a low supply. Chef Niederman admitted, "If there's a massive shortage on something, or it's being overproduced, then I tend to steer clear of that item and go another route." One of the reasons it's near impossible to get restaurant-quality sear and char at home is the lack of high heat. Most home gas grills peak between 500 and 550 degrees Fahrenheit, which is fine for grilling burgers but not nearly hot enough for a steak. Steakhouses use super high heat from searing grills and infrared broilers, which can reach up to 1500 to 1600 degrees. However, for more control over the process, some steak chefs prepare special equipment to reach their desired temperatures and achieve the perfect sear. Pralvukaj's restaurants custom make their broilers, which can go up to 1300 degrees Fahrenheit. You'll have to plan a night out to get steak made like that. Chef Wise's Rare Society Steakhouse uses custom-made grills to cook the steaks over a live fire. They burn wood under the grills to reach a higher temperature, but the wood does more than just turn up the heat. He revealed that the source of the wood itself was vital, saying, "We burn American red oak in particular, sourced from the Central Coast, which imparts a sweet and smoky flavor to the steak."
Well, this sure is a nice steak place.
I like how there's so much dark wood in here.
Yeah, I saw that. I think that's real neat.
Some of the finest seafood you can get at a restaurant comes from steakhouses, with dishes like surf and turf a staple on most menus. Whether it's to stay ahead of food trends or accommodate a pescatarian clientele, steakhouses can dish out some incredible seafood options, which are often as high in quality as the price tag is in number. Compared to more dedicated seafood restaurants that offer a wide range of delicacies from the depths, steakhouses will stick to 5 or 6 popular items. In order to keep up with competition, steak chefs keep their seafood sourcing as conscientious as their beef sourcing. Chef Niederman shared that reputable vendors, constantly checking what product comes in, refusing inferior product, using what is in season for the highest quality, and knowing where the seafood is coming from is the way I manage it. To keep seafood sourcing sustainable, Chef Wise looked for suppliers who shared the Trust Restaurant Group's values. Wise partnered with an oyster farmer in Coos Bay, Oregon for the Rare Society Restaurant's oysters. They're grown in a mix of fresh water and salt water at the mouth of the Columbia River and contribute to restoring the region's biodiversity. A dry-aged cabinet is the pride of any steakhouse. It's often the first thing you'll see when stepping into a steak-based restaurant, with multiple cuts of beef hanging inside display cabinets. However, the actual process of dry aging takes place in a much more controlled environment. Constant monitoring of airflow, humidity, and temperatures between 32 and 39.2 degrees Fahrenheit in the dry-age room allows beef to age and develop maximum flavor without rotting, according to Lazy T Ranch. It's as complicated as it sounds and takes a lot of experimentation to get right, even for seasoned chefs. Prelvukaj admitted, "When we first opened Benjamin's Steakhouse, we had a lot of trial and error with our dry aging box. Since it's located in our restaurants, we built it ourselves to customize it and create the perfect steaks." He added that the process took them 2 decades to master, as even the smallest error could set back everything. Chef Wise says that due to its time-consuming process, ranging anywhere from a few weeks to a few months, dry-aged steak also comes with a higher price tag. Dry aging in-house involves, quote, time, labor, and product loss, as the meat shrinks to 15 to 30% its original size. Naturally, these cuts will be more expensive, but often worth the price.